Afternoon, honorable members. When we suspended for lunch, we were debating the midterm budget report. I am sure the honorable member for East Grand Bahamas is excited to start. As many.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I want to first start off by congratulating the member for Marco City and the leader of Her Majesty's opposition and soon to be the next Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I mean it 100%.
We used to say that too. Yes, sir. I answer you, man. I answer you.
But Mr. Deputy, I want to really get directly into my presentation. It is once again an honor and a privilege to stand in this place and to present, not like or unlike the member for Fox Hill, who is in excess of 30 consecutive budgets. This is my 17th consecutive budget presentation while sitting in either the House of Assembly or the Senate. Mr. Deputy, I am eternally grateful for this opportunity to represent the good and the special people of East Grand Bahama. I want to say how grateful I am to the people of Swedenski, to High Rock, all the way to Freetown and McLeanstown and all the settlements in between, to the people in over the bridge, Shannon, Fortune Point, Fortune Bay, Chesapeake, the Ridge, Malibu Reef, Coral Gardens, Seahorse Village, and all of the subdivisions in between. Mr. Deputy, at a time when struggling families, young people, single mothers and fathers, struggling business owners and entrepreneurs are looking for relief, they are looking for help, they're looking for hope. This budget, Mr. Deputy, is disenchanting, dissatisfying, displeasing, disheartening, discouraging, and disappointing. You have all together dissed the Bahamian people. Mr. Deputy, Bahamians are concerned with their paychecks. They are concerned with grocery bills, electricity bills, gas bills, insurance bills, school fees, rent, and mortgage payments.
That's right.
They are concerned about government services. They are concerned about their health care, medication. Does it cost me more to do business? Is it easier for me to do business? Bahamians want a seat at the decision-making table, or they want to at least see the decision-making table. This budget is described as changing the status quo. That is what the government describes this budget as doing, changing the status quo. And the government's actions do change the status quo. The only problem is they change it for the worse. And your actions do change lives. It makes life more difficult, more expensive, and more frustrating for Bahamians. Rising business license fees, rising customs fees, rising national insurance, rising boat license fees, rising passenger taxes, rising cost of electricity, rising VAT on breadbasket items and medication and rising air freight costs. The status quo needed are not these things, but the actions which will secure a greater future. On the deficit and the surplus, Mr. Deputy, this administration continues to ignore its own publicly stated fiscal goals and targets. They have made a mockery of the fiscal laws of the country. The PFMA, the Public Finance Management Act, states that the government must state, and I quote, the reasons for any deviation from the general principles, fiscal responsibility principles, and fiscal objectives in the previous fiscal strategy report. The government clearly stated in its 2022 fiscal strategy report that the budget of 2024-2025 should have a $287 million surplus. That's what you told the people in your fiscal strategy report. It was clear. It was unambiguous. But the government, without justification, without explanation, has brought forth a budget with a $69 million deficit. The law that this PLP administration brought to Parliament, the PFMA 2023, states that they are legally required to provide a justification. However, as it is now their habit, they have unfortunately ignored this law. This budget does change the status quo, but in changing it, it changes it in the wrong direction. This budget likes to keep secrets, unfortunately, from the people. But such a material change in the fiscal objectives requires an explanation be given to the Bahamian people. You told us that this budget, we should have a surplus, but you have presented a budget that has a deficit. The government has been keeping secrets on the deficit and continues to defy all logic that it will come close to meeting the current budget's deficit target of $131 million. The government does a disservice to the Bahamian people and destroys its own credibility when it keeps secrets and refuses to come clean on the true state of the nation's finances. Mr. Deputy, the Prime Minister made a number of quotes in the paper, but he didn't quote this morning's paper. And this morning's paper in the business section says budget optimism tempered by fiscal surplus backup. Well, yeah, I read the whole report. Santander, the bank, urges clarity as 3 revisions in 15 months. The government initially, and I quote from the paper, the government initially forecast in 2022, the fiscal strategy report that released in February 2023, that it would produce a $287 million surplus. This was altered 3 months later in the 2023-2024 budget, where you said you would have a $109 million surplus. The Global Bank said that the slower than anticipated fiscal consolidation path exposes the Bahamas to higher vulnerability from external economic and climate shocks, and it seeks to rebuild a badly needed headroom following the combined $13.1 billion hit inflicted by COVID and Hurricane Dorian. Santander said the decline in the price of outstanding Bahamian government foreign currency debt immediately following the budget's unveiling may reflect the market disappointment with the revised surplus backup. Mr. Deputy, the fiscal position. Here is the truth, and the numbers do not lie. The government has abandoned their surplus target. Number two, total revenue is behind projections. According to your numbers, after 9 months, revenue collected stands at 67% of the forecasted full-year total, well behind last year's pace, when the collections stood at 73%. Tell the Bahamian people why. Have you made the appropriate adjustments for next year's budget? Of course not. Number three, total VAT collections is behind. VAT receipts, one of the largest revenue generators, is behind 62.5% of the total forecasted revenue for the fiscal year, when it should be closer to 75%. Why are we so far behind? Stop keeping secrets and come clean with the Bahamian people.
Come clean.
Number four, then there is the $500 million loan. The various explanations given just do not add up. The Prime Minister told Parliament and the people that the proceeds of the $500 million loan were not, by covenant agreement, to be used on debt refinancing or paying over rollover debt or rollover or paying existing loans. These were his words. But the government's own public debt statistical bulletin report demonstrates that the government had to use a portion of the $500 million loan proceeds for rollover debts and not just budget expenditure. Why is that? The report at page 13 points out that the government this fiscal year took on a total of $111 million in foreign currency loans and used most of that to repay the $662 million in existing debt. Simple math would demonstrate that a substantial portion of that $500 million would have had to be used to facilitate this debt refinancing. Mr. Deputy, as the government so eloquently explained at page 5 of its published annual borrowing plan, for the current fiscal year, the government only has parliamentary approval or authority for new borrowings total $130.1 million. So the primary purpose of that loan had to help refinance or roll over existing debt. If the government continues to insist that the $500 million is at all new borrowings and was not used to finance debt refinancing, then the government must provide evidence of the legal authority for them to do so and explain what was the $500 million used for. In other words, Mr. Deputy, if it was not used to pay an existing loan, then what was it used for? Stop keeping secrets. Come clean with the Bahamian people. If that's not bad enough, Mr. Deputy, you gave BPL more than $100 million. See page 24 of your fiscal strategy report. But you didn't do it in the proper way through subventions and allocated in the budget because that would increase your deficit. So you say it's a loan. You say you loaned BPL $100 million. That's what you said in your fiscal strategy. But that notwithstanding, the proceeds of this loan were paid out of the consolidated fund The Constitution says anything that comes from the consolidated fund must be allocated in the budget and approved by Parliament. You had no approval to take $100 million from the consolidated fund and give it to BPL. You say it's a loan, but you don't have the terms of how it's going to be paid back. Mr. Deputy, it is amazing that you say you loaned $100 million to BPL. And that was done months ago. But yet, you cannot provide Parliament with the details as to what the interest payments is, what are the installment payments are, upon what terms will this money be paid back to the government. Tell the public the truth. Stop keeping secrets and come clean. Mr. Deputy, on economic growth, the government, without explanation, changed projections in the midterm budget from 5.5 growth to 1.1 economic growth. You decreased it. You said we no longer are going to make the 5.5 growth, but we are going to be downgraded to 1.1 in economic growth. But you seem resigned to this minimum growth level. From 14%, where you met it when you came to office, to now 1.1%. This is part of the problem. Why Bahamians are not feeling this so-called good times. Mr. Deputy, I want to make this clear. We in the FNM, we are convinced that the Bahamas has the capacity for sustained 3+% economic growth. Indeed, the country needs to target this level of growth to accommodate school graduates and to achieve higher wages and improve standards of living. This is our problem, not being able to achieve a consistently higher growth. The reality is that despite what is stated and the picture painted, until there is stronger growth, the country will continue to be the same. 1.7 and 1.5% over the next 3 years just won't do it. This is the status quo, and this is what needs to change. Debt is a big issue for the country. Look at how much the government is paying for debt and unable to borrow easily. Look at how much other countries around the region with much less potential than the Bahamas is paying for debt. Way less than us. Look at the outcome of the Rothschild contract. Our interest rates are still high. So it appears nothing has been achieved by the millions of dollars that was spent on the Rothschild contract. Look at how much the government continues to pay for domestic debt. You know, some who are well known to those on that side have given a cautionary note recently on that. Mr. Deputy, the truth is, we must expand growth, and we must fix our credit worthiness. But this budget does not change the status quo. The growth potential of the country must be changed. Debt must be reduced and not just transferred to PPPs. It must really be reduced. Cost of debt must come down. Policies must change to cause this to happen. And the status quo must change. But this is not it. Mr. Deputy, let me address the budget directly. You know, Winston Churchill said it this way, and I quote, He said, I no longer listen to what people say. I watch what they do.
Yes, sir.
Behavior never lies. It doesn't matter what the government says. Watch where the money goes and how the money is spent. Watch where the money goes and watch how the money is spent. The PM said this morning, budgets are about choices and priorities. I agree with him 100%. This is why the public does not and cannot believe you. You are long on talk, but woefully short on action. These are some questions that I have to ask in looking at your budget. Just hand me the budget book there a minute. After going through this, you know, all the big talk on food security, one only needs to look at page 255 of your budget estimates. You've reduced the budget by $300,000. So all the big talk about food security, you've come down by $300,000 in your budget estimates. And out of a budget where you approved $1.2 million on food security, you only spent $200,000. Out of a budget of $1.2 million, you only spent $200,000. Now, I accept that this is the 9 months, so I accept this is not the full, budget year. But you have only spent $200,000 out of a possible $1.2 million. You touted the Agriculture Administrative Cadet Program. This was again mentioned in their last year's budget. But I invite you to look at page 159 and look at all of the money that you spent on this touted program. Agriculture Administrative Cadet Program, $0 was what you spent on this program. You again touted that you are going to develop the national sport. And look at all of the money that you spent on developing this as a national sport. $0. $0 was spent on this. In health, again, there was a national organ transplant program. I remember the Prime Minister made this as a big announcement that this is an initiative that this government is pressing, this government is focused behind. At page 165 of this budget, you said you needed $1.5 million for this program. That's what you said. We approved you for $1.5 million. You know how much was spent? A whopping $0.
Wow. Shame.
Was spent on this program.
Wow.
Health and wellness program. Health and wellness program. At page 165, you allocated $1.5 million. You allocated $1.5 million for this program. How much was spent? $200,000. Why? I don't know. Maybe you will have to tell us why you only spent $200,000 when it was allocated at $1.5 million.
Priorities.
Choices
Choices.
and priorities.
Priorities.
Catastrophic health care program. Catastrophic health care program. At page 165. At page 165. You allocated $10 million for this. You allocated $10 million for this. Going to help Bahamians with illnesses. Now I want to be very, I have in my notes that I want to be very serious with this one. Because it is a serious matter. It is. It is. But how can we explain to Bahamians and to my constituents why it is that there was only $2 million out of a possible $10 million fund, given the very acute and urgent needs of Bahamians everywhere? We have asked over and over for some clarity on this program,
You're going to be explaining it, or?
for the documentation on how the program runs and what is the application process. But again, we have not received answers to these questions. In tourism, the Grand Bahama Promotion Board, out of a possible 226 budget, only $56 million was spent. In Grand Bahama, the CoLab at page 187. And this was a much touted program. Out of the $3 million that was allocated, only $178,000 was spent. Only $178,000 was spent.
Explain that. Explain it when you get a chance.
Ministry of Economic Affairs, Small Business Development Center, at page 156. You allocated just under $2 million, $1.9 million. But you spent $475,000. Is this out of the $50 million a year that the Prime Minister claimed he was committing to small business? After 3 quarters of a fiscal year, the expenditure in that line item is less than 1% of the $50 million pledge. Also, consumer credit counseling at page 146. This consumer credit counseling
Honorable members,
was supposed to help fight inflation. But you've cut it in half, cut the budget in half, and you've only spent $0 with respect to this consumer credit counseling. Now, again, I will treat the matter of social services with just as much respect. But of all of the struggling families, why have you not increased the social services, or why have you not increased social assistance in the social services budget? And I'm sure that the minister will tell us why, with Ranfully Home, he will tell us why in the budget book it only had $0 when you allocated $300,000. In finance, consultancy services, you've increased that. Why? We need to understand who else or which other consultants are being paid. But, Mr. Deputy, this one I think is a curious one. This next one. Air transport outside of the Bahamas in the OPM's budget, Office of the Prime Minister's budget. Taking account of all of the monies that you did not spend previously, let's look at what you did spend. At page 74, of anybody following?
They follow it. We follow it.
We definitely follow it.
We follow it.
In the 2022 budget, you spent $1.3 million in the 2022-2023 budget. For the whole year, you spent $1.3 million for that line item. Line item air transport outside of the Bahamas. In 2023, you spent, for the first 9 months, not even the whole budget period, but for the first 9 months, you spent $1.5 million. But do you know how much was actually allocated for this budget? Do you know how much?
Tell us. Tell us.
You know, Mr. Deputy, you have
Tell us.
allocations.
Tell us.
Now you could spend what's in those allocations, or you could spend over what's in those allocations. But those allocations matter because that's what Parliament approved you to spend.
That's right.
Parliament approved $181,000. That's how much Parliament approved for this line item. But how much was spent? $1.5 million for the first 9 months.
Wow.
For the first 9 months. You've allocated $181,000 that you said you were going to spend
181.
for the whole year. You said that. Nobody forced you to say that.
Nobody
That's
forced
what you said.
Nobody
And that's
forced
what
them.
Parliament approved.
181.
But you now say, and the numbers reflect that you have actually spent $1.5 million for the first 9 months in that line item.
Poor people, man. Poor people.
Don't listen to what
You see how much
is said.
You see how much
Watch what they do.
You see what you all
Watch where the money is spent. Capital and finance, small and medium business support.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Yeah.
East Grand Bahama speak about fiscal prudence. And he's urging this administration to go ahead and spend more. But I rise really to point out one of the fallacies in his argument, Mr. Deputy. And I think you could extend this to the logical conclusion. What the member failed to note when he talked about contributions to Family Island Regattas is that there was, in fact, a reallocation of responsibilities within ministries. And I invite him to look at page 83 so that he might elucidate some of his incomplete research, Mr. Deputy. And he would see that contributions to Family Island Regattas would have been moved to the Department of Local Government and the amount almost fully spent, even though it's only 9 months. I think that would make him happy. It would make him happy that we've spent more than the 75%. I fail to comprehend his argument urging this administration to spend more as he speaks of fiscal prudence. I also invite him to, fact-check his research.
Thank you, honorable member.
Someone is providing him some numbers, but he should fact-check those.
Mr. Deputy,
Stay focused, man. Stay focused.
capital, finance,
Yes.
small and medium-sized business support at page 197. Again, for all of the talk about the 50 million, you spent 500,000 out of a budget of $5.5 million. And you decided you were going to reduce the budget for this budget. Again, just 1% or 1% of the 50 million pledge. Rent-to-own program at page 197. You spent $200,000 out of a possible budget allocation of $3.5 million. Performing Arts School at page 197, $49,000 out of a possible budget of $1 million. Hurricane precautions at page 197, $0. You may need to explain why the budget says $0 that you spent. The woman's shelter, $0. $0 from a possible $500,000. The road maintenance significantly reduced by $7 million. Cemeteries, reduced. Building maintenance, reduced. The health program to support health systems, again, reduced. And then I'm sure that the Minister for Grand Bahama is going to explain to us why the Prime Minister said $4 million for the bazaar, but there's only $1 million allocated in your capital budget to acquire the Royal Oasis, as well as only $1 million to demolish the Royal Oasis. Mr. Deputy, in Grand Bahama, you've decided that you will purchase the International Bazaar. But again, we see no evidence that you have completed the sale of the hotel. You have not yet started in terms of the new airport. You have now said that you will, the Prime Minister said this morning, because that was one of my questions. The Prime Minister now says that the purchase of the Royal Oasis is included, because he didn't say that in his community, Princess. He now says that he didn't say that in his original budget communication. So obviously, that has to be included if you are going to look at the bazaar. It doesn't make sense to purchase the bazaar or do anything with the bazaar unless you do something with the hotel. So I will await to see the details on how it will be developed. They have also allocated $75 million that is supposed to come from the Port Authority. There is no indication that this is going to be paid. They have also they have also stated that they have not taken it into account for next budget period. So I don't believe you believe that this is going to be paid. No, we have no overall vision plan that has been presented for Grand Bahama. Agreed. We all agree that the status quo must change.
Yes.
Everyone in this place believes the status quo must change.
Yes.
But to what? We need to understand what is your vision plan for Grand Bahama. You can't keep this a secret. The people of Grand Bahama ought to know what your plan is for Grand Bahama. And then, Mr. Deputy, PPP policy. Continuing an unfortunate pattern of ignoring government policy, parliamentary approval, and any sense of fiscal prudence, this current PLP administration continues to take on secret and hidden, unauthorized public debt, hiding behind so-called PPP arrangements for the delivery of infrastructure projects. They are entering more and more secret deals. The FNM created and published for all to see a PPP policy. In 2018, there was a PPP policy. It was created, it was tabled, it was produced, it was published. We let the world know that if you want to have a PPP with the Bahamas government, this is how it should be done.
You all say you're following that, right? Oh,
The FNM created this policy. But Mr. Deputy, if the Procurement Act and the PPP policy, if these documents are actually followed, and I want this point to be made. If the PPP policy is followed, if the Procurement Act is followed, governance in this country would be substantially different. if you follow these documents, that is how you change the status quo.
Yes, sir.
And this is what people want to see.
Yes.
They want to see clarity. They want to see an open bidding process.
Yes.
They don't want secret deals.
Complete check.
They want you to be able to tell the public about these PPPs and the details of them.
Yes.
On your secret off-book deals, you are contracting with vendors to pay for the work in installments over several years, usually, we believe, at interest rates much higher than the government would be able to secure from agencies that lend for public infrastructure. And then there's no bid. And then the deal is secret.
Shame.
Now, in the 2018 policy, if you were following the 2018 policy, here's what you would have to do. If you were following the government's 2018 PPP policy, the same one that you say you're building on in your fiscal strategy, the same one.
That's right.
The same one you say you are building on in your fiscal strategy.
You all say.
We would be having open market consultations in which information on the project is shared with the industry. You would also be having international publications of requests for expressions of interest. And you would also be having equal access to data by all bidders. So if you were going to have a PPP on a road project, you should have open market consultations on that road project. You should also have information about the project that's shared with the industry. You should also have a request for expressions of interest to the public. And you should also have equal access to data for all bidders. The government of the Bahamas, and this is, I'm quoting from the policy, the government of the Bahamas is committed to a fully transparent process that ensures that information about PPP projects and the performance of PPP projects is publicly available.
Yes.
Tell us where we could find the details of your PPP agreements. Tell us where we can find them. We are looking for them. We are looking for them. If the public can't find them, then I say they're secret. If the public can't find them.
What are the terms?
Also, I quote, the government will, and this again is in the policy document, the government will disclose PPP projects and program information as follows. Information on each potential PPP project and invitation for expressions will be published as a part of the tender process. PPP contracts will be published as soon as they become effective, along with a summary of each project features and commercial terms. We should know what the interest rates are that you have agreed the public pay for these PPP projects. We should know what those interest rates are. Mr. Deputy, we have a leader. We have a leader. Mr. Deputy, again, on the Freedom of Information Act, and I genuinely hope that this is not the case. I really hope that this is not the case. I hope that they will prove me wrong on this point. But if you look at the ombudsman, you know, we passed an ombudsman bill, which is now law. We passed the act. The government said it was necessary, it has to be done, we got to do it. How important it is, not important for the government, but important for the people of the country to be able to challenge what the government's decisions are. That's why it's important. It's important because it's an ability that you give to the people. It's a right that you give to the people to look at what you are doing and challenge what you are doing. So, Mr. Deputy, I searched in and out. You know, you have those electronic versions of the budget, and you could type in find and put the name in, and it tells you all of the places where this word shows up in the budget book. I typed in ombudsman. It does not appear once. It does not appear once in the budget book. Not once in the budget book. You put no money to it. We debated it, we approved it, but you have not allocated $1 for the ombudsman bill or for the implementation of the ombudsman. On the ease of doing business. On the ease of doing business. The FNM was focused. The FNM was focused. We tracked and we graded the ease of doing business measures. This government.
Order, honorable members.
This government seems not to care about the ease of doing business for Bahamians. The FNM amended the legislation to allow persons with low-risk businesses to create a provisional license so that within 48 hours of a submission of a full application to permit them to begin business operations for up to 90 days while they await the formal license approvals. So once you apply, once you submit all of your documents, in 48 hours, you could start doing your business for those low-risk businesses. That was an initiative created by the FNM. Also in 2018, the FNM created the online portal for business startups so that you didn't have to be submitting applications to all these different places. One place, online, you submit your application, submit your documents, and then let the government do what it needs to do in the background. In 2018, the FNM brought in relief for and eliminated business license fees for micro, small businesses. So what does the PLP do? They increase business licenses for large businesses. But I want you to listen to the business community. Listen to the private sector. Make it easier for businesses to pay taxes. Make it easier for businesses to report. And also, we want you to support the development of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, particularly...
Member.
Mr. Deputy. We want you to support the development of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, particularly for young people. Young people are asking what is in this budget for them. And one of the things we would like for you to do is to set aside specific funding for the development of young people when it comes to developing their businesses and making them entrepreneurs. More funding we want you to do. Now also, Mr. Deputy, when it comes to promotion of the digital economy, the FNM started the development of a national digital marketplace. It would have provided opportunities for small businesses and other Bahamian entrepreneurs to trade their goods locally and also internationally. We must promote also the Bahamian sand dollar digital currency. Also, Mr. Deputy, we must see real progress with creating a ministry and a minister around the cabinet table that is focused on technology and ICT. We must promote this industry. Government services must lead the way. And we're not just talking about promoting them in the government system, but nationally, we ought to be a country that focuses on promoting digitization and focuses on nationally the digital transformation. We need more progress with respect to the My Gateway platform. We need to see this become a fully interoperable program. The idea behind this design was so that wherever you are, you would be able to apply for government services. And the one key feature of this program was for there to be a goal, because we hadn't reached there yet, but for there to be a goal that once the government has a piece of information about you, that no other government office is allowed to ask you for that piece of information. So once you have a government ID issued by the government of the Bahamas, then no other government agency ought to be asking you for that government ID. If it's a passport, if it's a driver's license, a national insurance card, if you are able to do that digitally, and then you will do away with having to wait for the paper, wait for the cards. You could have it on your phone. You could digitally have your ID on your phone. And so if you go into any government ministry, you are able to identify yourself through using, and that includes NIB, that includes road traffic, that includes driver's license, that includes going to the bank, that includes looking at any utilities. That is where we ought to be heading towards. That also should include payment, because the way how the online process was supposed to be heading, the way how My Gateway was supposed to also be heading, was to add on different industries. So you ought to be able to add on banks. You ought to be able to add on utility companies, so that I can, if I want to pay a utility company, I could do that right online. I could do that right with my phone. I could move my money straight from the bank, straight to the utility company by using my phone and by using My Gateway. That's where we ought to be heading towards. We also ought to be looking at when you are incorporating a business, and when you are doing your, when you are applying for a business license, all of that process should be combined. So that if I want to apply for a business license, I should be at the very same place, be able to incorporate that business at the same location. Why? Because it's the same government. You apply for approval for a business license at a government office. You apply to incorporate a company at a government office. It is the same government. So why should I have to apply at two different places for a process that could be done in the same place and for the same purpose? We're talking about getting a business license and incorporating a business. And in most cases, if you get a business license, in most cases, you will also incorporate a business. It took us, when we looked at this in Estonia, it took them under 20 minutes. Under 20 minutes to apply and be approved for a business license and incorporate a company in under 20 minutes. Mr. Deputy, another question also that ought to be raised is the supplemental approval for the midterm budget. Mr. Deputy, we watched and waited for the government when it came to them producing their budget bills. And if you remember correctly, the Prime Minister said that a bill would have come to deal with their error in the midterm budget, where they attempted to move $10 million from recurrent to capital. or sorry, on the other way around. They attempted to move from the capital, $10 million from the capital to the recurrent. You needed a bill to do so. You needed a bill to move monies from capital to recurrent. The Prime Minister said, yes, that bill will be coming. Well, we still are awaiting that bill. We still are awaiting when you are going to get parliamentary approval to do what you did during the midterm budget process. Mr. Deputy, in my last 8 minutes, I do want to speak a little bit about East Grand Bahama. I'm very pleased that the government has decided to continue the F&M started project of microgrids in East Grand Bahama. It is an important project. It is a very important project that I'm happy that after months and months of waiting and asking questions about it, you have decided to proceed with this. Now, there's one issue that was raised that I asked the government to address. If you have a microgrid project and you are able to, and that microgrid project is tapped into the Grand Bahama Power, and the Grand Bahama Power is able to purchase power from the microgrid, then those persons who live in that area ought to be able to see a reduction in the amount that they are paying when you take into account this microgrid that is being sold to Grand Bahama Power. We would like for the government to take an active or a proactive role in the discussions with the power company and ensure that there is the savings for those persons who live in that area. Because again, we need to be able, the people need to be able to see that if this microgrid project becomes a reality, which we hope it will, that they will be able to see the benefits and see a reduced power bill as a result of this microgrid project. So that is most definitely something that we are advocating for, something that must happen. Also, we also must advocate for the school in Swedenski. I was recently told that a team went down to Swedenski and was doing an assessment. Again, I'm hopeful that there will be some progress made on constructing that school, the necessary school that can renovate that entire government building, government complex. We are hopeful that that school will be repaired. We are also, again, asking for, demanding, advocating for the seawall in High Rock. The seawall in High Rock must be done. It must be completed. And I saw in your budget where there was a East Grand Bahama allocation for coastal, that may be the seawall. And the minister is saying, yes, that is the seawall. So we are very hopeful that that is going to start this fiscal period, that is going to get moving this fiscal period. So we are very pleased that that was included, and we are very hopeful that those folks in High Rock also will see the benefits of that. And then also, with respect to Waterkey, again, we've had this discussion on, okay. So we are hopeful again that we'll be able to see some progress with respect to the dock in Waterkey. Again, it is essential. It is something that needs to happen. And so we again are advocating that dock in Waterkey, that dock in Waterkey also be done. And then also the minister, we also, there was a dredging project that a dredging project that was started in Ski. And so we need to understand what the status of the dredging program is, because again, in Ski, you only are able to get into Ski with small boats. And even with those small boats, you are only able to get into Ski at different times. So you are only be able to get into there definitely when the tide is high. So a dredging program was started. It had stopped. We need to understand what the status of that dredging program is. When is it going to continue? What the issue is going to be. So we need to understand what's happening with respect to the dredging program. Mr. Deputy, as we've said, this budget, Mr. Deputy, unfortunately does not provide the necessary relief. It does not provide the necessary help and hope for ordinary Bahamians. It also does not provide the necessary ease of doing business, assistance for small businesses and for businesses across the country. It does not provide us with any economic growth plan. We need to understand why it is that you put the growth projections from 5.5 to 1.1. This country can achieve, we believe, growth levels of over 3%. And that would accommodate those persons, those new persons who are coming into the job market. That would accommodate. People will then begin to feel what is being done. They are going to see higher wages. They are going to see the assistance that is required. So we need to see and we need to understand, and this budget does not have it. The budget also promises to change the status quo, but it changes the status quo in the wrong direction. And so we are saying to the government, yes, it does change the status quo, but it unfortunately makes things worse. So, Mr. Deputy, this is the contribution for East Grand Bahama. I am extremely grateful to the people of East Grand Bahama for providing me with this opportunity to be able to speak on their behalf. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
The chair thank you, honourable member. The chair recognizes the honourable member for Pinewood.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. We got the chair, you know. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I just wanted to address one of the matters raised by the honourable member for East Grand Bahama, and it relates to the home for victims of domestic violence. That a building has been located. The government not only have approved the purchase of that building, but also in this budget have approved monies for the renovation and outfitting of that facility. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, honourable member. As many, the chair recognizes the honourable member for Pine Ridge.
Deputy Speaker and members of this honorable House, good afternoon. It is a privilege to represent the resilient people of the great constituency of Pine Ridge, a proud people who have been longing for an enabling environment for progress. I stand resolute in supporting their aspirations as I make my contribution to the annual budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025. This, Mr. Deputy, is my third contribution to the budget, and I do so with much gratitude to the people of Pine Ridge for sending me here to represent them, and to the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumpke, and San Salvador for appointing me to his cabinet to represent the wider Grand Bahama community and to the Bahamian people at large. Deputy Speaker, this Davis Cooper administration is making bold moves toward a better Bahamas. From energy reforms and healthcare upgrades, judicial reforms that reflect our no-tolerance stance on crime, and in my own backyard, we are addressing age-old legacy challenges that our people and island have consistently advocated for solutions. The great Bahamian, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, once said, "Vision is the source and hope of life. Sight is a function of the eyes. Vision is a function of the heart." And in our Blueprint for Change, we said, all plans are laid with good intentions. The difference between a good plan and a great plan is execution. Mr. Deputy, Budget 2024-25 reflects our vision, focus, commitment, and execution strategies for the security and dignity of the Bahamian people. With its Changing the Status Quo, Changing Lives theme, it reminds me of what the Progressive Liberal Party is known for, spearheading some of the country's most notable achievements like independence, to the creation of the Defense Force and National Insurance, to the College of the Bahamas, now University of the Bahamas. And for my contribution, I will add one more phrase to the theme: addressing legacy issues for the people of Pine Ridge, the people of Grand Bahama, the people of the Bahamas. Because this is exactly what the Davis Cooper administration has been doing, whether it's going where no one has dared to go before, righting a wrong, truly fighting for the people. From the much talked about West Sunrise Highway reopening, revitalization of the International Bazaar, or tackling the Hawksbill Creek Agreement obligations, which I'll get to a bit further. So, member for East Grand Bahama, please listen attentively while I highlight what true vision followed by planning with focused execution looks like.
Yes.
Not just talk. Action. Action. Deputy Speaker, I can say with all assuredness that Grand Bahama is on the right track. In fact, Grand Bahama is on the move. It is the fastest growing destination island in the Bahamas, with a 43% overall increase in arrivals and 31.8% increase by year. Events and festivals are happening frequently as we aim to make our island the home of events and entertainment. Buildings are either coming down, going up, or being refurbished and repurposed. Downtown has come back strong. And instead of hearing about deals like Oban, we are witnessing Celebration Key come to life.
Yeah.
A development with its first heads of agreement signed by the PLP in 2017. Instead of GIBC Digital, their tech hub, we are getting our Innovate 242 business incubator. 5 MPs, 5 ministers, no progress, nothing.
Did you say nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We got nothing.
Zero.
Instead of negotiating bad deals like the side opposite that allowed GBPA and Hutchison to keep the insurance proceeds for the airport and dump the liabilities on the taxpayers, we have been relentless in fixing their mess. Upon coming into office, we simply went straight to work to address many issues. We put in proper measures to extend the hours of operation. We restored and recommissioned the domestic terminal. And right now, as I speak, demolition of the international terminal continues as we make significant progress on the design bill for a new state-of-the-art international airport. With the Grand Lucayan, bear in mind, where did the member of East go?
You read something.
Bear in mind, member for East Grand Bahama, that It was your administration that purchased the hotel for more than its appraised value to save jobs. Then you turned around and still ended up using taxpayers' dollars to pay severance as you let the same people go. But we press on. And even though we are so focused on the task at hand to rescue Grand Bahama Island from where the side opposite left it, we will remind the residents of Grand Bahama about the challenges we faced and how the previous administration left Grand Bahama in a wheelchair. We will never forget, Deputy Speaker, that we had 5 MPs, 5 ministers, and no progress. Nothing. 5. In the cabinet.
So what you call
5.
5 for 0,
5.
0 for 5?
That's right. Exactly.
0 and 5 and 5 for 0.
In any event, this Davis Cooper administration continues to work for you to find the best deal possible.
Yes.
And as the member of Exomus and Ragged Island would say, we'll have a lot more to say when the money is in the bank. But just for a moment, let us truly digest the progress we have made in under 3 years. We ended the curfew, the lockdowns, the travel visas, and emergency orders. We opened up the economy by safely providing free testing and free masks. We invested heavily in tourism promotion that focused not only on New Providence, but also the Family Islands, and set a record with visitor arrivals at almost 10 million. We renewed investor confidence in the Bahamas and was removed from the EU blacklisting. We made improvements in our education and healthcare systems. We increased minimum wage by 24%. Instead of stopping promotions and increments, we reinstated it. Instead of 0 homes built, we built over 200 homes and counting. Instead of 0 labor agreements signed, we've signed 27 and counting. Instead of increasing VAT by 60%, we reduced it to 10%.
Who increased it by 60%?
The other side, FNM. And we reduced the unemployment rate to the lowest in 16 years. Mr. Deputy, that's because we have vision, we plan, and we execute. We championed the passage of the Evidence Amendment Act, which provided relief and closure to families affected by Hurricane Dorian. If we hadn't, unbelievably, the families would still have 2 years to go. We extended the SIRS order twice for duty-free vehicles, which the side opposite had already canceled, as well as building supplies and household appliances due to Hurricane Dorian. And I want Grand Bahamians to listen to this one in particular, because I think it may have been missed. We introduced the Family Islands Development Encouragement Amendment and Validation Bill 2023 that introduced exemption from customs duties and excise tax by 100% for Bahamians or permanent residents and 50% for a non-Bahamian for Grand Bahama, except for licensees in the port area, and all other family islands and keys. Yes, we did this in 2023. We collaborated with the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation on global sales and marketing missions to re-energize promotions of Grand Bahama as a destination to markets like Orlando, Raleigh, Charlotte, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Ghana, and Nigeria, just to name a few. We engaged with cruise lines to encourage additional cruise calls. We hosted major track and field events, including NACAC, and the list goes on. Because we have vision, we plan, and we execute. Yes. Deputy Speaker, we know that we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but we've come a long way from the dark days of 5 MPs, 5 ministers, and no progress. And now Grand Bahama and the entire country are finally heading in the right direction. Mr. Deputy, one thing about the PLP, we take on the greatest challenges, the ones no one dares to address, because we recognize that in order to thrive, we have to be bold. We have to think outside the proverbial box. We have to be relentless in our pursuit to empower our people. So instead of saying it is what it is, if it is going to improve the lives of our people, we are going to fight for it. This Davis-Cooper administration has challenged the status quo to get results. As quoted by the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, we have big ambitions for our country and the Bahamian people. And with this in mind, we continue to pledge to work smart to move our country forward. It is for this reason that the Ministry for Grand Bahama has embarked on addressing several long-standing legacy issues within the city of Freeport. Deputy Speaker, these issues have been nuisances and eyesores to the Grand Bahama community for decades. Not only have they contributed to the island's stagnation, but they have also marred the overall aesthetics of the city of Freeport. But, Mr. Deputy, once again, this execution-oriented administration has stepped up to the plate and did what needed to be done, that which the administrators of the city has not been able to do, to resolve these issues to move the island forward. Mr. Deputy, Marco City also. Mr. Deputy, once upon a time on the island of Grand Bahama, there was a bustling shopping district of international prominence where you could experience a world-class international bazaar. Adjacent to it was a main highway named West Sunrise Highway that held Junkanoo festivals, Grand Prix, race, car driving, Grandmama Road Race, and other festivals. Next door was the signature wedding photo shot, the Princess Lawn, and all was well. So we thought. Then someone had a not-so-brilliant idea that they would purchase the road from the Grand Bahama Port Authority to create a man-made beach in the middle of the land. And herein the beginning of the end. The people of Grand Bahama have advocated from then to now for the reopening of the road. And in 2017, the previous PLP administration made some progress. Right, Tall Pines? So immediately upon coming to office, we reignited the process, and here we are today. The question we should ask ourselves, after many years of advocating, if government doesn't fix it, who will? The most powerful part of this development is that government is not simply fixing a vexing problem. It is also creating a revenue generator for the government and the people of the Bahamas. So I'm pleased to reiterate the announcement made by the Honorable Philip Edward Brave Davis during his contribution that the West Sunrise Highway, the road between the International Bazaar and the old Royal Oasis Resort, will be reopened. The government has also agreed to acquire the property that the International Bazaar and Royal Oasis Tower and Casino is situated on for future development that will revitalize the area and stimulate economic activity for the benefit of the Bahamian people for less than $4 million. This transaction involves 14 property owners. Thereafter, the properties will be demolished and beautified to make way for an amazing world-class tourist attraction. And so, To the member for East Grand Bahama. I keep calling, because you said no plan. I heard you. You said no plan. That's right. One thing that most people who know the member for Pine Ridge will tell you, she always has a plan. A well thought out, well researched plan that will not only create a world-class tourist attraction, but it will have the vested interest of 74 countries and 16 islands of the Bahamas featured. A plan that includes our people, a plan that kills two birds with one stone. It fixes, the go-to, it fixes the mess that the Grand Bahama Port Authority nor the side opposite have been able to resolve. And it brings to life an exciting new project to be funded after in-depth analysis by the African Export-Import Bank. It is envisioned that the Afro-Caribbean marketplace on Grand Bahama Island will provide amazing entrepreneurial opportunities to empower Bahamians, especially in the creative industry, the orange economy. Deputy Speaker and honorable members, because of the amount of talk that the Prime Minister's announcement brought, I believe that it's only fitting to go a little bit in depth on this matter, so please bear with me. In June 2023, the government of the Bahamas signed an MOU with Afro-Exim Bank for the development of an Afro-Caribbean marketplace featuring 54 African countries, 20 Caribbean countries, and 16 islands of the Bahamas, as well as a logistics center for trade and distribution of products. The overarching theme is to boost trade, investment, and connectivity between the African continent and the Caribbean. With Grand Bahama's development of 2 new cruise ports, Celebration Key by Carnival, and the Freeport Harbor development by Royal Caribbean, MSC, and ITM, and additional airlift, Grand Bahama is poised to celebrate over 6 million visitors by 2027. The Davis-Cooper administration sees this as another game changer for Grand Bahama Island. Mr. Deputy, this marketplace will see the birth and development of an international trading market that will comprise exhibition pavilions hosting African and Caribbean countries, enabling them to showcase their artifacts, wares, food, and culture with international festivals. Just imagine a place where there's Afro beats colliding with Junkanoo, Rake and Scrape, soca, calypso, reggae, and gospel. The marketplace will also act as a promotion center for the various countries represented. It will be a representation of the best of what these countries have to offer, a gathering place in the region for business deals, a taste of Africa, a taste of the Caribbean, and a taste of each island of the Bahamas. And that's not all, Deputy Speaker. One of the main components of this project is the development of trade between Africa and the Caribbean via Grand Bahama Island, with a dedicated smart logistics hub that will comprise warehousing, transshipment, distribution, and light and value-added manufacturing. Sounds like a plan. Grand Bahama Island is the gateway to the Caribbean and presents the ideal environment for logistics and trade, with its major transshipment terminal at the Freeport Container Port and with MSC's sustainable supply chain in Africa and local presence in Freeport. This Afro-Caribbean marketplace will empower our people, Mr. Deputy. And again, to the member of East Grand Bahama, who said the other day that we have no plan. The fact of the matter is, our plan is quite robust. It has been well researched, and considering that a project preparation
The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Again, I did not want to interrupt the member for Pine Ridge, but my reference to the government not having a plan is a plan for Grand Bahama. The issue that I raised was that the Prime Minister came to Grand Bahama, spoke to the business community, said that the island of Grand Bahama, the status quo for Freeport needs to change. We agree with that. But there was no plan in terms of what was going to happen with the island of Grand Bahama. Now, when she spoke, what she is speaking about is the development plan for the bazaar, and I said I would wait to hear what they had to say.
Thank you, honorable member.
There still is no plan for the island.
Speaker, I'm referring to the member's convention speech. And he specifically was addressing the purchase of the International Bazaar, and you said, we have no plan. I'm telling you the plan. He said no plan.
I said I heard the Prime Minister this morning, and I would wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, I heard you say no plan. So I'm telling you the plan. This is the plan. It has been well researched, and considering that a project preparation facility is in the works, supported by Afrexim Bank, the project will have all of the enabling conditions to ensure its success. The concept of the Afro-Caribbean marketplace was promoted at the 10th summit of OACPS, the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, heads of state and government during the Prime Minister's intervention as he led CARICOM in Angola in December 2022. And again, at the sidelines of the CARICOM heads of government in February 2023, along with the Deputy Prime Minister. And in May 2023, both the Prime Minister and I presented at the Ghana Investment Mission right here in the capital, where I promoted the marketplace, followed by a promotional Africa trade mission of the Caribbean Export Development Agency to Ghana and Nigeria in June 2023. Also in June 2023, an MOU with Afrexim Bank for the development of the marketplace was signed, and recently at Export Bank of the United States Global Business Development Summit, I was invited to present the proposed marketplace. Finally, the President and Chairman, as well as the Vice President of Afrexim Bank, are extremely excited and have taken a keen interest in ensuring that the Afro-Caribbean marketplace is a success. Deputy Speaker, next week at Bahama, Afrexim Bank will host its 31st annual general meeting. This will mark the first time that the AGM is held in the Caribbean and will coincide with the 3rd annual Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. On the invitation of the President and Chairman of Afrexim Bank, our Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Affairs, and Minister for Grand Bahama will be featured speakers, and I will present on the theme, From Tangibles to Intangibles, Realizing Opportunities for Afro-Caribbean Trade in Creative and Cultural Products. Also for Afrexim Bank, the Afro-Caribbean marketplace is a strategic undertaking, and a project preparation facility will be signed to co-produce the project documents, inclusive of finance documents, feasibility studies, marketplace architectural and engineering design, project management costs, environmental impact assessments, and marketing and fundraising costs as a model project as it establishes its presence in the region. So to answer again, the member for East Grand Bahama, yes, we have a plan. That's what you get. Mr. Deputy, the government has also embarked on another legacy issue within the city of Freeport to revitalize Mr. Deputy, the government has also embarked on another legacy issue within the city of Freeport to revitalize the area known as the ghetto, in collaboration with a U.S. State Department initiative called Cities Forward. In August 2023, the city of Freeport was selected to participate in the Cities Forward program and matched with the city of Coral Springs, Florida, to develop sustainable, resilient, and inclusive solutions for vulnerable communities. I look forward to signing our city charter this month with the city of Coral Springs. The program is a collaborative initiative between the U.S. Department of State, ICLAY Local Governments for Sustainability, the Institute of the Americas, and Resilient Cities Catalyst. My ministry has selected the Garden Village Project, which will systematically advance the government's vision for the area to become more equitable, sustainable, and resilient in alignment with our Blueprint for Change for urban renewal and inner city revitalization. And I quote, "We commit to the revitalization of the inner cities and urban communities throughout the Bahamas with a focused agenda on abandoned buildings, street lighting, housing programs, derelict vehicles, cleanup programs, and utilization of neighborhood artisans. The Garden Village Project is primarily focused on building a sustainable, resilient, smart neighborhood that is self-sufficient and reliant. And we are breaking the status quo. The Garden Village Project will enhance the economic viability of the community with the implementation of agri-tech farming solutions where residents can create a co-op and a farmer's market in the area to feed their families and neighboring communities. A resilient community center and smart park are proposed to be established as well. I'm excited about the transformation this project will bring to the area known as the ghetto and the island of Grand Bahama. A collaborative effort with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Renewal and my colleagues, the members of Carmichael and Marathon, as well as the Ministry of National Security and the member for Freetown, as we build a community center in this area that is, I like to say was, considered a hotspot. Deputy Speaker, moving forward, the Ministry for Grand Bahama will be reaching out to various stakeholders to engage and collaborate because we make things happen. Mr. Deputy, downtown Freeport, after many years of abandonment, is back to life. And this did not happen by chance. Of course, we made it up. You didn't do it. You didn't do anything. With the government's commitment to support the redevelopment, the property owners were more inclined to reinvest in the abandoned buildings. Downtown, you should ask them. Downtown is once again active with the completion of the Wynn Building and the Grand Union Building, and home to Solomon's, the Parliamentary Registration, and Labor and the Public Service. We have included the dilapidated Savoy Building and Parker Building in the heart of downtown Freeport as a part of the Cities Forward initiative, the U.S. State Department program, since there seems to be uncooperative owners on this issue. It is hoped that through this channel, we'll be able to bring resolve to this unsightly matter with support from this partnership. And finally, Deputy Speaker, on the matter of addressing legacy issues, none of us were around in 1955 when the then UBP government granted thousands of acres of land with enormous concessions to a man named Wallace Groves to develop a deep water harbor and to build a city that was given the name Freeport. To understand, however, where we are today, in the simplest terms, the provisions of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement came with one clear obligation of GBPA, and that is to reimburse the government within 30 days after the presentation of a detailed account of the annual costs to the government of providing services and administrative activities, plus 25% of such costs pursuant to Clause 15D of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. It is that simple. GBPA is obligated to reimburse the government of the Bahamas in law. And so, if governments of the past did not previously invoice a requirement by law, that has absolutely no bearing on what we seek today, because quite frankly, it's the people's money. So when we speak about changing the status quo, changing lives, this is a prime example of addressing legacy issues. And hats off to our Prime Minister for having the gumption, the tenacity, the confidence to get the taxpayers what is rightfully due to them. The people of Pine Ridge, and by most accounts, the people of Grand Bahama stand with you. In our Blueprint for Change, we pledge to work smart to move our country forward, ensuring that Bahamians benefit in the process. And, Madam Speaker, this is exactly what we have been doing at the Ministry for Grand Bahama. We launched the Empower Grand Bahama Microgrant Program and distributed 149 microgrants to entrepreneurs in the creative industry, orange economy, with a focus on touristic product development and to support the creation of authentic products, services, and immersive experiences that are uniquely Bahamian. We distributed relief grants to straw market and tourist-related vendors and junction groups. We launched Maritime 101 program in collaboration with ELNET Maritime Agency, and I extend congratulations to the most outstanding cadet of the program for 2023, Aiden Musgrove, who's expected to begin SUNY Maritime University in New York in the fall of 2024. Congratulations, Aiden. We hosted Innovate Grand Bahama Career Fair, attended by more than 600 students from 16 schools in Grand Bahama and featured 24 organizations from the public and private sectors. We facilitated sponsorship and participation of 19 students, including Grand Bahamian students, in UNFCCC MENA Climate Change Week in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure that by now, all of you would have heard about CoLab, Partnerships for Development. In keeping with our pledge, Deputy Speaker, to recover, rebuild, and revolutionize, the Ministry for Grand Bahama launched the CoLab unit to partner with NGOs, businesses, government agencies, and the community to address the basic needs of residents and pave a way forward for Grand Bahama's growth and development. Okay. So just a quick update, Mr. Deputy. The CoLab team continues its work with others to strategize solutions for pressing issues and to meet the needs of the Grand Bahama community. The displaced residents of Restoration Village in Tripp Circle, since moving in, have been able to get their lives back on track. This community of transition homes was created to provide shelter for families and individuals in urgent need of assistance. Restoration Village has become a lifeline for persons as we assist with social services, employment, counseling, and document retrieval in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. CoLab has also partnered with the Domestic Violence Unit of the Northern Bahamas of the Royal Bahamas Police Force in collaboration with the Department of Social Services, Grand Bahama Resilience Center, Kiwanis Club, and Rotary Club, with a pledge of support in specific areas to assist victims of domestic violence. CoLab is entrenched in the Grand Bahama community. The record-breaking blood drives, food drives, and other community enhancement initiatives have now become staples. And speaking about blood drives, Deputy Speaker, I would like to thank the residents of Grand Bahama for supporting our second annual blood drive, which was held on Saturday, May 18th at Durand Memorial Hospital in Freeport. I would also like to thank our partners, the PHA, the Blood Donor Society, the Red Cross, Rotary, Kiwanis, and the Pilot Club for teaming up with CoLab for a second year. This year, I was pleased to be able to personally give the gift of love for such a great cause. We hope that our continued partnership on this initiative encourage more residents to donate blood to help those in need. We have also collaborated with the Evangeline Jervis Hurricane Shelter, scheduled to be open tomorrow, just in time for this hurricane season. I congratulate these community builders for continuing to go above and beyond to bring relief to our people in need. And of course, want to also thank the member for Pinewood for ensuring that the community center received the much needed support in order to complete the construction. We also thank partners like the MSC Foundation for the phenomenal support in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian and the continual support moving forward as we align our shared goals in environmental conservation, education, community support, and emergency relief. Doctors Hospital and Hutchison Port Holdings should also be commended for their support of the transition homes at Restoration Village as we endeavor to transform lives. We also recognize the work of community builders like Darren Roll of the Falcons Boys Club, Dudley and Katie Sade of Reach Out Ministries, and Bonnie Baston of House of Hoops and Drains, who continue to selflessly pour into and give back to our young people, leaving an indelible imprint on their lives. Mr. Deputy, we can no longer work in silos. We must change the status quo and seize every opportunity to collaborate so that we are working greater together to change lives. Deputy Speaker, as the Bahamas and Caribbean representative of Sister Cities International, I'm elated by the two newest sister city relationships signed over the past 12 months. One with Hunan Province and Bahama Island, established in May 2024, and Princestown, Ahanta, Western Ghana, and Nassau, Bahamas, established June 2023. And I am pleased to report that another sister city relationship is in progress with Nassau, Bahamas, and Nassau, Germany. The government intends to have a sister city relationship established on the 16 island destinations throughout the Bahamas. So much so that last week we had a delegation representing the Bahamas at the All America Sister Cities Summit in San Antonio, Texas, where we sought to revitalize existing relationships and establish new ones. This administration recognizes the mutual benefits that can be derived from establishing sister city relationships between communities in the Bahamas and partnering cities within the United States and other countries. These partnerships are agreements of mutual support designed to enable business, tourism, cultural, educational, and humanitarian exchanges that can lead cooperation on key initiatives related to sustainability, technology, and economic development. To date, there are 10 sister city relationships with the Bahamas, and we continue to benefit from some of these relationships. In the aftermath of Dorian, our sister cities partnered to send much-needed relief to the Bahamas. Miami-Dade donated a rescue vehicle to Grand Bahama, which I recently handed over to ACP Chantanose to add to the fleet of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Northern Service Fire Branch. Hunan Province, China, donated agricultural equipment to the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources and medical equipment to the PHA, as well as the launch of the Brightness Journey Action Initiative for cataract and retinal surgeries with the PHA. Hunan is also known as the entertainment capital of China, aligning with Grand Bahama's quest to become home of entertainment, with great potential to enhance our film and creative industry and opportunities for educational exchanges supported through the University of the Bahamas. And Richton Park, Illinois, has agreed to donate an ambulance and other medical resources to their sister city, Cat Island. Also, Mr. Deputy, each year, Sister Cities International hosts a young artists and authors competition to encourage the youth worldwide to express the mission of Sister Cities International through original art piece, literature, poetry, photography, and music. And the Ministry for Grand Bahama is thrilled to endorse the 2024 Sister Cities Young Artists and Authors Showcase, as we are encouraging young Bahamian artists, photographers, musicians, authors, and poets to embrace this opportunity to share their voices and unique perspectives with the world. This year's theme, Climatescape, Resilient Cities for Tomorrow's Climate, hits close to home when you consider the effects of climate change and what it has had on the Bahamas. This summer, we hope to have 10 students representing the Bahamas at the Sister Cities International Youth Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. Under the CoLab unit, we executed our first major initiative, Beautiful Grand Bahama, to maintain government assets, to clean up communities, restore heritage and cultural sites, and employed hundreds of residents from inner cities, persons who had difficulties finding gainful employment, and young men who were deemed unemployable because of past criminal infractions. Like I said, Deputy Speaker, we had vision, we planned, and we executed. Beautiful Grand Bahama cleaned up neighborhoods and removed debris left by Hurricane Dorian in East, West, and in the city of Freeport. We restored heritage sites in East Grand Bahama for the return of cultural festivals to reignite those historic communities, promote community and heritage-based tourism, and generate revenue as we pledged in our Blueprint for Change. We erected memorials in Freetown, High Rock, and McLeanstown in memory of the victims of Hurricane Dorian. We assisted with getting the most vulnerable back in their homes. We returned channel markers between East End and North Arbuckle. We revitalized memorial sites in 8 Mile Rock, Pindus Point, Lewis Yard, Hunters, and Freeport, many of which had been left unkept for decades. We cleaned up Lewis Yard Primary, the Pindus Point Lighthouse area, and restored the historic Mermaid Pond. We restored dilapidated homes once occupied by police officers. We assisted with the maintenance of the Grand Lucayan with the renovation of the Prop Club restaurant for its reopening. We cleared and removed debris at BAIC Freeport property, clearing a walkway to the 4 ponds. We refurbished the farmers market in downtown Freeport by providing electrical installations for vendor booths. And still more to come. We continue to work at the Grand Bahama Sports Complex. We assisted community partners like the YMCA Freeport, the Falcons Boys Club, the Bahamas National Trust, Rand Nature Center, and Lucayan National Park with cleaning, painting, landscaping, debris removal, and refurbishment projects. And we continue to assist the University of the Bahamas with significant work to prepare them for redevelopment and supply government agencies with general service workers to fill staffing voids. And the list can go on and on and on, Deputy Speaker. There's so much more that we have done over the past 2 years to bring relief to the people and communities throughout Grand Bahama. Beautiful Grand Bahama has transformed communities and changed lives for the better, and the program is still going strong. Mr. Deputy, this initiative continues to employ hundreds in need, provides second chance opportunities, and enhances communities and government projects at the same time. Deputy Speaker, thanks to this program also, 39 beautiful Grand Bahama team members have recently completed a globally recognized certification in the NCCER core program offered by BTBI. Mr. Deputy, this is real progress because we have vision, we plan, and we execute. And this is how you change the status quo to transform lives. This is how you give Bahamians a hand up with dignity to create a lasting change and empower people to give them a brighter future. And beautiful Grand Bahama is not done. Our work is ongoing, and the Ministry for Grand Bahama is working diligently with stakeholders to execute more projects, impact more lives, to progress residents and the island forward. So what's up next? Deputy Speaker, a new day requires a new approach to long-standing issues. It requires casting away old ways of thinking, coming up with new ideas, new strategies, and a level of innovation that shatters the status quo. For this reason, I was pleased to be appointed the co-chair of Innovate 242 Cabinet Subcommittee, along with the member for Exumas and Ragged Island, to establish the Bahamas as the center of innovation for the Caribbean, focused on the 4 pillars of digital nomads, tech campuses, incubators, and an innovation fund. Of the 4 pillars, because of the immediate impact that it will have on empowering Bahamians, Bahamian entrepreneurs, the incubators have been made top priority. In the first instance, the islands of New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma have been identified for incubators. The second phase will include the islands of Cat Island, Eleuthera, and Andros. The Deputy Prime Minister will share more details in his contribution, but I will speak specifically to Innovate 242 Incubator for Grand Bahama. In our Blueprint for Change, Grand Bahama is designated as the home of innovation, and it presents an ideal platform to pilot innovative solutions for our country and beyond. Mr. Deputy, I am delighted, I am excited, and I am proud to say that the structure known as the Royal Palm Resort on the Mall Drive, Freeport, will soon become home of the Innovate 242 Incubator on Grand Bahama Island. This building, that's it. This is how it looks now, right? See it, see it, see? Okay. Okay.
We need 5 of you. One again.
This is, so that, this is what it will become. The incubator, you got it? I think they want to see over there.
Oh, yeah, give it to them over there.
I don't want this to disappear too early.
Okay.
What building
The
they renovate?
incubator will be twofold. It will serve as a creative business center to cater to entrepreneurs as a one-stop shop for business development from concept to launch. Okay, that's another one. You want another one?
Make sure I see before.
The incubator will be spearheaded by the Tourism Development Corporation in collaboration with the Ministry for Grand Bahama. and will include representation from organizations like the Bahamas Development Bank, Small Business Development Center, Inland Revenue, Bahamas Invest, Licensing Department of GBPA, Invest Grand Bahama, the Bahamas Trade Commission, a creative producer, and a technology-based provider. In our Blueprint for Change, we pledge to create a plan for each island. The incubator will also house the Center for Sustainability to create an ecosystem for organizations, both international and local, that focus on research and development in innovation, climate change, sustainability, inclusiveness, and to converge and collaborate to create sustainable master plans for each island with the capacity to expand to the rest of the region. Grand Bahama Island is a model for resiliency, adaptation, and mitigation that can be utilized for research and development for organizations around the world. As mentioned earlier, ICLAY, Local Governments for Sustainability, is also a part of the Cities Forward initiative. They are an organization of over 2,500 members in 125 countries with a focus on achieving measurable progress towards more economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable forms of development and management. And I was elected as the Regional Executive Committee Vice President for Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean for the ICLAY Council 2024-2027.
Very good.
Grand Bahama is well positioned to become the headquarters of the Caribbean office of ICLAY Local Governments for Sustainability, located in the Innovate 242 incubator. Deputy Speaker, next month, a technical team from the Ministry for Grand Bahama and I will further build upon the development of our Center for Sustainability in Brazil at the ICLAY World Congress, partly funded by CAF, the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean. I wish to take this opportunity to also congratulate the Minister of Economic Affairs for the recent historical signing of the Bahamas to become a member of CAF that focuses on funding for projects related to improving the quality of life of people in Latin America and the Caribbean. Mr. Deputy, Grand Bahama Island is a prime location for the Center for Sustainability, deeply rooted within our long history of hurricane recovery and the indomitable spirit of our residences lies a reservoir of untapped knowledge and strategies that can be implemented in countries that are at risk of hurricanes. We've been through it again and again and again, Deputy Speaker. We've learned from past experiences, and we can share that information with the world. The model of the Grand Bahama Incubator will be an incubator for collaboration, business development, and sustainability, and the launching pad to become a global center for sustainability. In our Blueprint for Change, we said that we would encourage investment in clubs for young inventors. And through Innovate 242, we will launch the Young Innovators Club, a club designed to inspire innovation among our youth, whilst encouraging them to become involved in the sustained growth and development of the Bahamas. The Innovate 242 incubator will be utilized as a space for the young innovators where their creative juices can flow. The focus areas of the club will include themes of empowerment of the Bahamian people, sustainable development goals, the creation and promotion of Bahamian products, boat building competition, and the innovation and green technology competitions. Innovate 242 will connect the dots and help Bahamians prepare for upcoming opportunities on Grand Bahama and throughout the Bahamas that will impact our nation's economy. Grand Bahama Island, the home of innovation and Center for Sustainability, will become the template for disaster recovery, resilience, and building smart cities throughout the Bahamas and the Caribbean. The incubator is expected to be completed by the end of this year. My team at the Ministry for Grand Bahama can attest, Deputy Speaker, that I have and they have been working relentlessly, 24/7, oftentimes in the wee hours of the morning, on behalf of the people of Pine Ridge and Grand Bahama to bring about results in collaboration with this execution-oriented, just results-driven administration, as the member of Central and South Eleuthera likes to say. The well-being of all Grand Bahamians and the state of Grand Bahama is a major priority to me, my ministry, and this government. That's why we needed to break the status quo and cease doing business as usual, be innovative to stimulate the economy, and again, create new opportunities for Bahamians. And speaking of reaching the public, Mr. Deputy, I would like to thank the 150 contractors on Grand Bahama who recently participated in the Ministry for Grand Bahama's Contractors Workshop. On Friday, the 17th of May, my ministry hosted a workshop for the local contractors, and the purpose was to ensure that all contractors were aware of the new regulations and that they would be able to acquire government contracts and become familiar with the procurement portal. I am pleased to report to this Honorable House that the response was overwhelming. The number of local contractors who registered and attended the one-day workshop far exceeded our expectations. The contractors were assisted with registering and met to ensure that this Davis Cooper administration is keen on providing opportunities within the construction sector. I took note also of the significant amount of female contractors in the room who were eager to register and begin the process of bidding in the procurement portal. And in the government's push for the e-business revolution, we will further digitize and automate government departments and agencies as mandated in our Blueprint for Change. Deputy Speaker, I must say a heartfelt thank you to the hardworking team at the Ministry for Grand Bahama for executing this and many other successful initiatives. Mr. Deputy, the Ministry for Grand Bahama also hosted its first protocol training workshop, which was attended by representatives from various government agencies, churches, and civic organizations who came to learn proper protocol with facilitators from the Protocol Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Deputy, Grand Bahama is steadily on the move. And this administration is focused not only on its island's progress, but to ensure that as Grand Bahama grows, so should our people grow and benefit from the opportunities that exist. For this reason, the Ministry for Grand Bahama continues to live up to its mandate to promote entrepreneurial opportunities by embarking on workshops and other initiatives like the entrepreneurial expos held in both West Grand Bahama and Freeport. This was a collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Development Corporation, the Small Business Development Center, the Bahamas Development Bank, other government agencies, and stakeholders to engage entrepreneurs in West Grand Bahama and the city of Freeport to provide information on starting, growing, and sustaining a business and to provide networking opportunities. As I said before, Deputy Speaker, we are tapping into the potential of our people and preparing them for the future. Since the beginning of the new year, there has also been a notable increase in the number of activities happening around the island. Every month, there It's just so many events, and it is very encouraging. My ministry has also been promoting the East-West duty-free concessions. The concession allows for the purchase and importation of capital goods for businesses registered in East or West Grand Bahama. Over the last few months, we have seen an increase in interest and approvals related to this concession. And in our Blueprint for Change, we pledge to support entrepreneurs and empower Bahamians by making the economy work for them. So I want to continue to encourage those in the East and West to avail themselves to these opportunities. The work that we have done in East Grand Bahama, and even by my ministry alone, cannot be disputed. Since 2021, I have relentlessly echoed the work that this administration has been doing, and I won't belabor the point too much today, other than to say that we will continue to work on behalf of the people. When we came to office, our words needed to match, our deeds needed to match our words. We recognized the urgent need to strategize a recovery plan to assist the residents of East Grand Bahama with their efforts, particularly the most vulnerable residents in those communities. Priority for home repairs and housing was given to senior citizens, our precious pearls, the disabled, widows, the indigent, and the unemployed. And in December 2022, contracts were awarded to local contractors from various East Grand Bahama communities. When we came to office, government offices had still not returned in East Grand Bahama. 2 years after Dorian, we made this a priority, and now the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Administrator's Office, and Social Services and Urban Renewal have returned.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
And completed. So those two offices, I'm sure, were finished and were completed.
I've been saying this for the past, I think, 2 years. Government services had not returned to East Grand Bahama. Royal Police, right, Government Services, Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Administrator's Office, and Social Services. It wasn't open.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
To try and rewrite history. At that time, the clinic in High Rock was open. The clinic in McLeanstown was open. In fact, the office in McLeanstown, where the police are housed today, was completed. The only issue was that the police was waiting on furniture in order for them to move into that location. So
2 years later.
So our issue isn't the progress that the government had done, but our issue is you can't rewrite history. The clinic was completed, both clinics were completed, and the office where the police were located was also completed.
Okay.
No, I accept that the police were not there because of the furnitures that were waiting. So don't try and rewrite history. It was done.
Mr. Deputy.
Not the services,
The
government
chair
services.
recognizes the honorable member for Central Grand Bahama.
Mr. Deputy, I also did not want to interrupt the good member, but, you know, we've been hearing over and over that we did absolutely nothing in Grand Bahama. And that's been echoed in here on that side over and over, and it's not correct, and I can no longer sit back and allow that to be put on the record without me responding. I lost family members in Abaco and in Grand Bahama. I lost family members in Abaco and Grand Bahama, and who also lost their homes. The DRA came under the former administration, so did the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness, Management, and Reconstruction. In Abaco, we repaired some 882 homes. In Grand Bahama, the records I will table, Madam Speaker asked to table documents. Madam Speaker asked to table documents. I have the documents that I will table today. In Grand Bahama, we repaired 1,800 homes. We spent in Abaco $5.172 million. In Grand Bahama, we spent $8.9 million. And Mr. Deputy, we engaged 265 contractors. So to say we did nothing is not true. I'm not saying anybody lied because I don't want no one to meet me outside. But I have to put that on the record that to say we did absolutely nothing is not true. I have evidence here, and I can even table the debris that we collected in Abaco. So to say we didn't do nothing is totally incorrect.
Member, are you going to table?
We'll no longer sit back and allow that to go on the record without us responding. It is not true, and I will table it. I'll be happy to table it.
Order that the documents be brought up.
Right across the street from Spring City.
Repairs, not construction, repairs.
Across the street from Spring City on the
What's
water
today? What's
table,
today?
just to make our people sick. That's exactly what you did.
Speak the truth, man. Come on. I have documents. That's facts.
That's
facts.
You left the debris
You
on
have
the
to be,
water table across from Spring City. On the water table.
Order that the documents do lie on the table.
Work on the McLeanstown Primary School is nearing completion and is set to reopen this coming September. Thank you, Member for Angliston. BTC commenced work and will continue the efforts necessary to restore landline and fiber internet connectivity to East Grand Bahama. Since the passage of the Evidence Amendment Act 2022, my ministry has worked hand in hand with the families of victims on the coroner's inquest to assist families in bringing closure to this matter so that they can honor the memory of their departed loved ones with dignity and respect. It was under the member for Tall Pines, it was during your reign, as Minister for Grand Bahama, Deputy Speaker, that a project for a Crown housing subdivision in McLeanstown was initiated. To date, sections of the development have been provided with water and paved roadway. Funding to energize an initial 20 lots has already been paid to the power company and works was completed. Additionally, the reinstallation of boundary markers was also completed. Community consultation will take place in the short term, providing service lots in McLeanstown. With the development of Celebration Key, Liverthorne Terminal redevelopment, and other investment projects, now is a great time to take advantage of the housing subdivision to continue to build the native communities of East Grand Bahama. This administration transforms lives and makes things happen. Mr. Deputy, as I said before, the Ministry for Grand Bahama is more than a ministry of administration. And as you travel around Grand Bahama, you can visibly see signs of progress, signs of a rebounded Grand Bahama, signs of the Davis Cooper administration. The $600 million Carnival Cruise Port Celebration Key is progressing well with completion schedule for June 2025 and the first ship in port in July 2025. The $600 million Grand Bahama Shipyard redevelopment is on schedule with Dock 2 to be in service in January 2026 and Dock 4 in September 2026. $100 million RCCL MSC ITM cruise port with additional beach experiences, the $100 million Liverthorne at South Riding Point, Doctors Hospital, 8 Mile Rock, and flagship Freeport facility, downtown Freeport with the Wynn, Solomon's, Parliamentary Registration, Labor and the Public Service, and the Grand Union Building, the beautiful newly opened CG Atlantic Freeport Building, a refurbished Running Man Marina, now called Exquisite Yachts with great food, Lucaya's solar power, heroic concrete, and Bahamas Minerals building capacity for the island. The newly reopened offices of the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture in the Region Center. Congratulations to the member for Garden Hills and his hardworking team. The demolition of the old International Building to make room for the construction of a new building at the UB North campus in downtown Freeport, a refurbished fishing hole causeway plus service road, the new administration complex in 8 Mile Rock was opened to service the West Grand Bahama community and was named in honor of our fallen colleague, the late Obadiah H. Wilscombe. The completed work on the 8 Mile Rock High Gymnasium shelter for the residents of the community. Work on the Holmes Rock Junior High School continues as it nears completion, and work is being finalized on the McLeanstown Primary, I already said that one, McLeanstown Primary School. Deputy Speaker, the much anticipated construction of the new $210 million Freeport Health Campus with an oncology center is well on the way with phase 1A and B to be completed by June 2025. Phase 2 tenders will be done in September 2024. 2 ambulances have been sourced for Grand Bahama for delivery in a few months, and a mammogram machine has been ordered, and work on the Davies House will begin in this budget period. Ground will soon be broken for the aquatic center at the Grand Bahama Sports Complex with a 50-meter swimming pool. Thank you again, Garden Hills. In addition, Mr. Deputy, the requests for proposals were submitted and work is set to begin on the Pine Forest Community Park and Heritage Community Park. And the member for Carmichael has assured me that new housing developments with PPP arrangements will soon begin in the Heritage, Garden Villas, and Pine Forest areas through the Ministry of Housing and Urban Renewal. So this administration is getting things done. If there's one message I constantly preach, it is we have to empower our people. When developments are happening, our people should be able to be the beneficiaries. When Grand Bahama grows, our people should grow and be able to seize the opportunities. So when I hear cruise lines say that they hope that we have the capacity, the manpower to handle all of this demand that our island will face, my response is always, we've got this. So instead of listening to the naysayers, simply look around and you will see that Grand Bahama has bounced back. I therefore want to make a clarion call to the Grand Bahama diaspora, as well as those right at home, to explore the opportunities that currently exist on the island and be a part of our country's, our island's bounce back story. With that being said, Deputy Speaker, the Ministry for Grand Bahama is hosting the Grand Expo Welcoming Home from July 3rd through 10th during the week leading up to the country's 51st anniversary of independence. This is an official invitation. This is an official invitation to the Grand Bahama diaspora, as well as those right at home and throughout the Bahamas, to come home and celebrate our beautiful island with us. Mr. Deputy, there will be a grand road race, the Grand Welcoming Home Festival, featuring the Welcoming Home Song Competition and the Bahamas' finest in entertainment, music, culture, and cuisine, happening in the center of downtown Freeport, bringing residents together in unity. With over $2 billion in investments happening on Grand Bahama, creating direct and spin-off opportunities, now is the perfect time for Grand Bahamians to invest in homes. We plan to have local lending institutions, mortgage companies, both private and government entities like the Tourism Development Corporation, Bahamas Development Bank, and the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation present. Private and government licensing authorities will also be present to assist persons with business licenses and available concessions. And corporate Grand Bahama, including real estate agents, will be present to showcase the attractive opportunities that exist and any incentives for not only Bahamians to come home, but for those who are home to also become educated on the opportunities available. Deputy Speaker, this is going to be a grand event, and I would like to invite you, honorable colleagues, to join us. More information will be announced soon, so please stay connected to the Ministry for Grand Bahama's social media platforms. Lastly, Mr. Deputy, I'd like to take this opportunity to advise the Grand Bahama community that my team at the Ministry for Grand Bahama is gearing up for our annual summer job program. Last year, we partnered with 139 entities throughout Grand Bahama Island to provide employment opportunities for over 400 high school and college students. I'm grateful to all of the businesses and organizations in Grand Bahama that partnered with us last year, and look forward to your support again this year. Deputy Speaker, none of what I do at the Ministry for Grand Bahama Island, or the member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini can happen without a dynamic team of professionals. So I would like to acknowledge their hard work, dedication, commitment, and fortitude, because all of the work that we've put out in the last 2 years and 8.5 months is now paying dividends. Yes, we've done a lot, but we have so much more to do to continue to empower our people and further grow the economy of the Bahamas. Thank you, Team Ministry for Grand Bahama. I would also like to thank everyone involved in Team Pine Ridge, aka Team Ginger, the best team in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. A team with a heart of gold, and you know who you are. You continue to demonstrate your commitment and dedication as we implement our 10-point agenda for Pine Ridge, as we inspire hope, enable opportunities, and deliver results. And I would like to give a shout out to the greatest cheerleaders, my children, Gabby and Khalid, because I'm one proud mama, and my Aunt Karen and Cousin Ronnie, who never leave my side. Thank you for all you do. Mr. Deputy, I beg leave now to give an update on the Pine Ridge constituency. The Pine Ridge constituency office went into overdrive with our signature Pristine Pine Ridge initiative. So a shout out to team leaders Ricky Martin and Edwin Strawn, who led the way. Pristine Pine Ridge is an exciting program that engages residents of all ages, collaborating with them on cleanup campaigns and encouraging them to do their part to keep the communities of Pine Ridge clean. We are working hard, and I'm very pleased that progress we've been making. Since launching this initiative, we have removed derelict cars from the Garden Villas, Columbus Park, Hawksbill, Regency Park, North Bahama, Hudson Estate, Queens Cove, and Backatown areas, street by street. We want to beautify Pine Ridge so that all residents can feel proud to live in an environment that is clean, green, and pristine. Deputy Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Member for Tall Pines and the team from the Ministry of Health and Wellness Unit, in particular Dr. Sheena Moss, for their Pathways to Wellness initiative, which was held last month on the Pine Ridge Urban Renewal Park in Garden Villas area. The team spent 3 days in the community going door to door, interacting with residents and giving away free food, t-shirts, bags, keychains on the park. Pathway to Wellness aligns with our 10-point agenda for Pine Ridge, which focuses on promoting a healthy lifestyle to residents through fitness programs and health and wellness initiatives. Mr. Deputy, Team Pine Ridge was pleased to launch its Get Fit program in March. Residents of Pine Ridge were invited to join us every Saturday morning at the constituency office at 6 a.m. for a robust, almost 5K walk. We've been having a wonderful time walking, talking, getting our heart rates up, and having fun outdoors in the fresh air as a community. The residents are engaged and look forward to walking every Saturday morning. If anyone in Pine Ridge would like to join the Get Fitness program, it's not too late. I invite you to visit the constituency office located in downtown Freeport to register. Pine Ridge also hosted its first seniors movie day at the constituency office last month. We invited the seniors of Pine Ridge to come back, kick back, and enjoy free popcorn, hot dogs, and drinks while they watched movies. Team Pine Ridge presented Easter basket to the students of the Beacon School and celebrated the contributions of their teachers during Teachers Appreciation Week by providing treats. While students of Hugh Campbell were treated to an Easter egg hunt and horseback riding classes at Pine Tree Stables with Linda Buchanan, were sponsored for 6th grade students. And a special Mother's Day sip and paint for Pine Ridge mothers with Grand Bahama visual artist Denzel Lightbourne. We wanted to give Pine Ridge mothers an unforgettable Mother's Day experience this year, so we showered them with gifts and allowed them to express their artistic ability. And to Pine Ridge fathers, we haven't forgotten you. Father's Day is approaching, and we are preparing for a Father's Day grill-out competition, and more information will be shared on our Ginger for the People pages. Deputy Speaker, as I return to the budget, the highlights of Head 74 in the 2024-25 draft estimates of revenue and expenditure include no material increase in recurrent expenditure, but reflects an increase in capital expenditure partially due to the acquisition of land from Harcourt Development for the West Sunrise Highway, the acquisition of the Royal Oasis Tower and Casino, and the acquisition of the International Bazaar and Arcade from 13 property owners. Of course, a portion of recurrent and capital expenditure for Grand Bahama, as usual, is spread across other heads. The budget reflects our vision and our plans that we will execute to ensure that Grand Bahama continues to recover, rebuild, and revolutionize. And in concluding, in this ever-changing landscape with technology, social media, and artificial intelligence, I think that it's important to offer some words of advice and encouragement to the Bahamian people. Be deliberate, be intentional, and don't fall for everything you hear in this season. There's a saying, if you say something repeatedly over and over and over again, people will begin to think it's true. Well, I see a lot of that going on. You keep hearing nothing is happening on Grand Bahama. So people are absolutely shocked when they realize that this is not the case. When you can see with your own eyes that big things are happening. Yes, it's not where some of us would wish for it to be for us personally, but let's be honest with ourselves. For those that are still hurting, we get you, and we want to ensure that you are okay. That's why we go above and beyond to make things happen. Because lest we forget, Grand Bahama gave the side opposite all 5 seats. And in return, they got 5 cabinet ministers. But we got nothing. Yes, the hotel you purchased, right? Actually, out of the gate, they did try to give us Satpal Donna and the O-Ban deal, scheduled visits to the grocery store in alphabetical order, and 3 birds and a goat. And when I came into office for the first time as Minister of Grand Bahama, I found boxes of expired food vouchers that our people who were in desperate need of food could have used. So I truly believe that we will never forget what we've been through and how we've overcome. And while some people may still be hurting, the Davis Cooper administration is driving real change. Change for Pine Ridge, change for Grand Bahama, change for the entire Bahamas. So let us work together. And as we start this hurricane season, let us pray for these beautiful islands and keys that we have been blessed with, and let us pray for the safety and protection of our people. Deputy Speaker, the constant theme that I've been echoing is that the Ministry for Grand Bahama is more than just a ministry of administration. It is a project-based ministry designed to impact lives and improve our conditions. As you can see, this administration is focused on making things happen in Grand Bahama by being innovative and breaking the status quo to transform lives. When we took office, Bahamians were despondent, and the residents of Grand Bahama needed help and hope. The Honorable Member for Cat Island, Rumpke and San Salvador said it best. We pulled the country back from the brink of exercising fiscal discipline, while still putting our compassion for the Bahamian people at the heart of our policies. And I say, Mr. Deputy, there is much more work to be done. However, our policies are working. Again, the unemployment rate in the country is the lowest it's been since 2008 at 8.8%, and Grand Bahama is the fastest growing island in visitor arrivals. Investor confidence has returned to the island, led by an administration whose focus is not Nassau-centric, with a commitment to developing Grand Bahama and the Family Islands. Budget 2024-25 demonstrates the Davis Cooper administration's commitment to the people of the Bahamas to always do the best that we can. Will it be easy? I doubt it. But try we must, try we will, and in trying, we will make things happen. With that, Mr. Deputy, Pine Ridge wholeheartedly supports the 2024-2025 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Much, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I just had a question for the member for Pine Ridge with respect to her her presentation. She produced some photographs of the Palm Hotel, but didn't say whether the government is purchasing it or whether the government is renting it. So we would like to understand what the government's plans are, whether it plans to purchase or whether it plans to rent, or what, how you intend to fund putting together this renovations. The second question that I'd like to ask is also with respect to UB. UB's has a process now, or program now, where they are renovating the Kipling building. They purchased the Kipling building, and the intention was for there to be a business incubator within that Kipling building project. So if you intend to put one in the Palm Hotel, what is going to happen with the UB's plans for the Kipling building? So we'd like to understand what's happening with the funding, whether the building is being purchased, and also what is going to happen with the UB part of the plan. Again, it was a part of the entire downtown redevelopment project, which was for us to put in place Solomon's and for us to move government facilities also in the same complex. It was something that we started when we were in office, and you continued it. We are happy that you continued it, but it was a part of, UB was also a part of that project. So we'd like to understand that now what is going to happen with respect to the UB platform.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As many, the Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini. Member?
Yes, thank you. Honorable member, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, I rise on behalf of the wonderful people in the constituency of West Grand Bahama and Bimini, who in their collective majority repose their trust in me to represent them in this honorable house. I do so, Madam Speaker, with a deep sense of gratitude for this privilege and wish to assure my constituents of my unwavering commitment to bring progress to West Grand Bahama and Bimini. As I have said in previous times, that is not a political promise. It is a guarantee from the heart. But Madam Speaker, I would like to recognize in the gallery today my oldest daughter, Kiaja, who is residing in Nassau, who's attending University of Bahamas, and she's taking up accounts. I would also like to recognize a man from the settlement of 8 Mile Rock, who is no stranger, as he is a member of the Cooling Waters, Mr. Lloyd Grant, and his lovely wife, Mrs. Grant. But Madam Speaker, we are here to lend our respective contributions to this budget. The fact is, Madam Speaker, these are not mere pastimes. These are serious times that require a hands-on approach. Thankfully, this Davis-Cooper-led government is committed to progress and preserving and enhancing our values and way of life. Our efforts exemplify an understanding of collaboration, commitment, and perseverance. What we do today, the decisions we make today, will profoundly impact the future of this country. Grand Bahama Island has seen robust growth since we came to office. That is not an opinion, Madam Speaker. It is an undisputable fact.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
The member said that Grand Bahama, since they came to office, that Grand Bahama has seen tremendous, undisputable growth. However, the records reflect that your records, your government records from statistics reflects that it was a 9% economic decrease. The Prime Minister himself also said during his presentation that it was a 9% decrease, economic decrease. So again, the facts are the facts, Madam Speaker. The facts are the facts.
Fox is stubborn.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
It's really rich Madam Speaker, the point that East Grand Bahama makes is really stunning. If you reduce the economy to zero, when it opens even a little bit, there'll be an increase. And so having devastated the economy of every island by shutting us down and putting us all out of work, they take credit for letting us get back to work a bit. And what is being put is real growth. You close the country down and reduce growth to zero. You even put me out of work for a while. And then once the country opened, you take credit for that as growth.
The Prime Minister spoke, Nassau saw an increase, saw an economic increase. Eleuthera saw an economic increase. Abaco saw an economic increase. It was only Grand Bahama that saw the decrease to 9%. So again, just state the facts. That's all we're saying.
State the facts.
That's all.
State the facts, that's all. Yeah, no. And you took off the
There's a member on the floor.
I repeat, Madam Speaker. Grand Bahama Island has seen robust growth since we came to office.
I saw plenty tourists. I saw plenty tourists.
What is the fight?